Hello everyone, welcome to the Model Frontier. If you are new to this channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. That way you don't miss a second of any of my great content. So as you no doubt tell by my surroundings here, today we're stepping off the bridge of the Enterprise D and onto one of the greatest ships ever made. That's right, because today we start building the Agora models RMS Titanic. I've been studying the ship for so long. I mean, I'm almost 40 years old, and I've been studying the ship since the 5th grade, so you can tell how long I've been into this. So when I read about this model from Agora, a 1/200 scale metal and wood partworks model of the Titanic, I just could not resist. I had to get it. So what is Agora Models? If you're not familiar with them, they're another partworks company like Eagle Moss. They do the same sort of model where they send you several parts of a model every month and you just put it together and wait for your next shipment. They have all kinds of great models. They have so many I can't really list them off right now. Just off the top of my head, they have the Bismarck, which is a World War II battleship. They have a 1/2 scale Terminator. They have a few 1/8 scale cars like the Shelby Cobra. They have a New York City fire truck. They have a Leopard, a remote controlled Leopard tank. There's really a lot of models there. I'm sure you could find something there that might strike your fancy. So link in the description below to both this specific model and Agora Models website just in general. Unlike Eagle Moss, where every stage, where every shipment comes with only 4 kits, Agora ups it, it looks like, usually to where you get about 6 kits every month. With Agora, you're also protected by the Agora Promise. Now that's a big deal because what that means is once they start a model, it's going to go through till it's completed. You can count on the fact that when you start building one of these, you're getting the entire thing until it's finished. Unlike Eagle Moss, they also give you digital instructions, so it'll make it very easy for me to be able to show you the instructions to this build. Now, the Titanic itself should need no introduction, but for those who are unfamiliar with the ship, let me tell you a little bit about the history of this famous ship. The RMS Titanic started her maiden voyage on April 10, 1912. Carrying over 2,200 passengers and crew, she was called the Queen of the Sea due to her high-quality accommodations. She was also boasted to be the safest vessel on the seas, to the point where the press deemed her practically unsinkable. Unfortunately, this would prove to be a falsehood, as on the 5th evening of her voyage, Titanic sideswiped an iceberg, taking damage in the first 5 of her watertight compartments. A little under 3 hours later, at 2:20 a.m. on April 15, 1912, the grandest ship in the world plunged beneath the sea. Due to outdated regulations, she did not carry enough lifeboats to save all of her passengers, and, as a result, 1,500 people lost their lives. So that's a little bit about the Titanic itself, and as we go on throughout the build, I'm going to give you more and more information because we got 24 shipments to do of this. So I'm going to give you a bits and pieces of information and facts and things about the ship, both from the magazine that we get, as well as some of my own extensive knowledge of it. My goal with this model is to create the most historically accurate model of the Titanic I possibly can. Now this is going to be a difficult task because it had such a short time in service. I mean, nobody expected this thing to go down the way it did. So there aren't that many actual pictures of it. A lot of the pictures we see that are attributed to the Titanic are actually from her sister ship, the Olympic, which looked very similar. As a matter of fact, this famous shot of the Grand Staircase, that's actually a shot of the Olympic's Grand Staircase. There exist no pictures of the Titanic staircase. One of the things I'm going to use to help make this model really stand out is I'm using an upgrade kit for another model of the Titanic, the Trumpeter 1/200 scale Titanic model. This is known as the MK1 or the KA kit. You'll probably hear me refer to it as both throughout these videos. As a result of this, I'm likely going to be differing very much from the instructions you're going to get when you get this build. I'm going to inform you when I do differ from these instructions, and I'm going to tell you right here and now that if you do decide to undertake the modifications that I'm doing, I accept no responsibility, and Agora is under no obligation to replace any broken parts or any parts that you mess up. I'm doing this for myself. It is my model. I'm willing to take the risk. If you think you're good enough to do what I'm doing, then by all means, feel free to do this. I will still follow the instructions, so you will see, through the instructions how to do this. But of course, like I said, I'm going to be using all these upgraded parts, some of which are very, very small. And it's a lot of photo etched parts, which are very difficult to work with. So if you want to do this model with just the instructions as printed, I would advise you to go check out World of Wayne. I'll post a link to his videos somewhere up there and down in the description below. He's doing this model too, but he's going to do it the stock method, just following the instructions as printed. He does many of these videos. He's done quite a few Agora models of his own, and he's really knowledgeable, so I think you'll like his videos too. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at what we get in the first shipment. Okay, so here's the first thing we're going to take a look at out of the box. This is just a little brochure telling you about the model and showing you, 1/200 scale. If you open it up, you're going to see this life size. There's no way I can actually show this off to you this way, but I mean, you can definitely see, it's gonna be big, and you're gonna take a look at this. Now remember, we're gonna be doing a lot of modifications on this, so your thing's not gonna look exactly the same. But this is just a little brochure they give you to show you what you're gonna be getting. These are all the freebies you're gonna get. You're gonna get a replica of the original poster as a tin poster. We're gonna get a screwdriver set, a pocket watch, a binder. Obviously this is, showing in British pounds instead of, US dollars, because it is the Hachette Partworks model. See, it's not going to say Agora models there, it's going to say Hachette Partworks, but it's the same model, so it's going to be great. And then next we get the magazines. Now one thing I've just noticed that I really like about this is, unlike the Star Trek ones, that really don't make themselves good for binders, this one actually has a couple of little hooks here that will make it good for binding. But each magazine set up the same way. You got several pages telling information about the Titanic. This first issue, for example, is a little bit about the captain. Some good factual information in here. And then of course you got your instructions on how to do it. Unlike the Enterprise build, each stage of this thing has its own magazine. So, you got stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and 4 right off the bat. So each stage of this build comes with its own magazine filled with all these facts. So that's definitely something I like. And then of course you got all the parts. These are the parts for stages 1 and 2. The forecastle, the hull, and then stage 3 and stage 4. So all the stages all nice looking. Again, we are going to be doing some heavy modifications on these, so stick around and follow along if you wish. But enough with that, let's get on with this show. So that's what we got to look forward to in the first shipment. I've talked your ears off long enough, I'm sure. So let's not waste any more time, and let me ask you, are you ready to go back to Titanic? Okay, so here goes our stage 1. We're going to be starting off with the forecastle. All the parts we need are here, but we're going to be focusing a lot of this issue on right up here, so let's get those out and get right into it. Alright, so here's our forecastle piece. It is plastic, and this is a wooden deck, but it is not as good a wooden deck as you'd think it is. I mean, obviously it's cut and shaped to fit just right, but it doesn't have the kind of details we got. So we're going to give it this deck. Now, what's the problem with this? They're not exactly the same size. So what we're going to first do is we're going to put this off to the side, and we're going to figure out how to get these to be the same size. So first we're going to see where where the discrepancy lies. I'm going to start lining it up with the back. Okay, so this is the KA set is a little thicker, and it also juts out a little bit. So let's see what we can do to fix that. Okay, so here's how we're going to fix that. You can see, I don't know if you can see, but these have a little lip on the front and the back of this. So what we're going to do to be able to use this piece is we're going to have to take off that lip, because you can see here, if we get that lip off, it'll fit just fine on the front. We do got to get this lip off here, so we're going to have to figure out how to do that. Since it's plastic, what I think I'm going to start by trying to do is just take my blade here and just sort of easily and just sort of gently, carefully scrape it off here. Also, don't try to go too far too fast. You know, you can shave it off a little bit. You can always shave off more. You can never shave off, you can never unshave it though. So just be sure you get it where you want it. And again, you don't gotta worry over much, because all of this is going to be covered by the decking, so you don't really need to worry over much as far as, you know, causing damage to any of this stuff. Alright, now that we got that whole lip off, let's see if we can put this piece on easy enough. Okay, no, we got this lip in the back we got to take off here. So we're going to take this whole lip off here. And there we go. And once you get that all shaved off, I'm going to take a look here. Line it up with the back. And oh, that looks great. Oh, that looks so good. That looks really good. So I think we got it good. Now, you will notice if you when you're putting this in, you're going to have spaces here. Don't worry about all these. These will get filled in. So the first thing we're going to do is get this deck glued on. Now, just like any other decks, it does come with an adhesive backing. If I can get it off here. Alright, it does come with an adhesive backing. It's a good sticky quality, but I don't want to trust it to that. So just like everyone else, we're going to put some wood glue down. We're just going to use some good old Gorilla wood glue. I'm gonna grab one of my things from my Enterprise build. We're gonna dump a bit. Whoa, okay. And dump some wood glue in there. You don't have to use wood glue. You can use whatever PVA type glue you're looking for. Whatever sort of PVA glue you're comfortable with. And now we're just gonna coat the whole thing with PVA glue, with the glue. Now, one thing I will recommend is just get a nice even layer of this glue on there. Don't worry about covering up holes because we're going to be taking care of those. You want to make sure you get all of it, including where you just modified. Unlike super glue, this glue does take a little bit of time to dry, so you don't got to worry about having to get it mess with it right off the bat. You know, you have time. I'll get all the way up to the edges. Okay, now that we got that coated in glue, we're going to take this off. Now, some decks that don't have these pieces cut out, you might want to start with the back, but since it is on this, I'm going to start with the front. And I'm going to take out just enough to get the front end in first. Because once we get this down, we're never going to be able to get it up again. So we're actually going to take this whole piece off here. Piece came off I didn't want. I'll get that on there in a bit. So we've got 2 holes, 3 holes here, and 3 holes in the front. So kind of use those to kind of guide that down. Right there. Okay. Now we're going to get it lined up. Tack it all down. Let's make sure we get it all straight and good. Now, as I said, there is a piece that goes here. If you're doing the KA set, it's this piece. It's a steel piece here. So what I would do is I would get that down too while you've got the glue drying. Do not worry over much about the holes, because when we need to get to them, we will. Okay, so our deck part, make sure you press along the edge. What I'm going to get one tool. I'm going to use a very simple tool. It's just a little roller. I'm just going to roll it gently. I'm going to gently roll this because it's not truly flattened. But I don't want there to be any bumps. As I said, there was a piece here that kind of came off that I didn't want to come off, so I'm going to just stick it back where it goes. It's probably not going to matter, but I do want to keep that there. I'm going to get some glue out of that because I don't want that to get caked with glue. So I'm going to take my super glue rig. I'm just going to get some of that glue off. Super glue rig and a napkin maybe will help. Or a Q-tip. A Q-tip would work good. Okay, now, you could technically continue on here, but I'm going to actually clamp this down and let it dry overnight so that we know that all the parts are set good. One thing I will recommend, if you do decide to clamp it, don't just grab a clamp and go for it. Sandwich it between some things. So just a couple of, just like even if you do one piece of cardboard here, it'll help protect the deck from damage. Now, as I said, I'm gonna let that sit for a day, and then we'll come on and we'll continue on with the next part of stage 1. So now, before we continue on with putting the pieces onto the deck, I want to show you some of the things that is going to be different when you go with an upgrade set like this. Obviously, there's nothing totally wrong with these parts, but they just don't look exactly right. Like here you have the cargo hatch from the kit, which looks kind of plain and boring, versus the cargo hatch that I actually 3D printed this, and again, I'll have a link down in the description to get this if you decide to use this one. Just please don't sell it. That's a real bad move. It looks real bad, and you know, it kind of hurts the community out that's trying to help make these the best possible models ever. So just use it if you want. If you don't want to, don't worry about it, but don't try to sell it. So this is the cargo hatch that I'll be using, and you can see there's more details to it than that. But obviously you don't get that cargo hatch in your kit. So what do you get with the upgrade kit? Well, one big problem, and even though they are going to fix this, it is still a problem, is these breakwaters just... Now compare these side by side. Keep in mind, this is what you get with the Agora model, and this is what you get with the KA upgrade set. There's really no contest. It's a night and day difference. The kind of detail you get with that. So that is definitely the better piece, and that's why I'm going the way I'm going. Another big area that is getting an upgrade is the winches on the deck. Now, you can see these winches, they look nice, even if they're the wrong color. They're supposed to be a little bit of a green. They're nice, and you know, they look good. They're plastic, so they're not metal, but again, compared to this one, now compare that winch against this winch, and there's no contest. This winch obviously has a lot more finer details than the kit one. It's obviously a little bigger too, so you know, just more detail into it. And again, these may be things that aren't a concern to you, because you might not be able to see them. But if you're going for the historically accurate looking model, it's the little tiny details that you get with these photo etch parts that really make whole world of difference. And then of course you're going to have areas like these bollards here where focus in. You're going to have things like these bollards where, you know, there's not really that much detail in either to lose for either one. Bollards and capstans are the same. There's no real details to lose. The only good thing about the capstans is they're made of, if you get the upgrade kit from KA, they're made of brass. So they give you that nice metal look that you just don't get if you paint the actual parts to get them. So one thing I would recommend if you're going to do this is, you know, there are a lot of small parts. And unlike the Agora kit where it's just pop out, put in, you're going to have to do some prep work on the KA set. You're going to have to do some painting and some, you know, priming and prep work. So I recommend you get something like this. I picked this up at the Dollar Tree, real cheap, and I pre-prepped all the parts I'm going to need for this first stage to keep them safe. And that's important because, you know, again, you don't want to lose any of these pieces. And some of these are really small. Like, I mean, you can see those pieces there are tiny, but packed full of detail. But again, they are tiny compared to what you get in the kit. Because what you get in the Agora kit with this, you get a piece like that. You can see the big difference in the size of the two. So, you know, you don't want to lose any of these because you don't get too much of them. But one good thing about this is if you do lose one, you might be able to use these parts for something else down the road to fix that mistake. So I would recommend, even if you're doing this version, don't throw out any parts whatsoever, because you never know when you might want to use one of the kit parts if something happens to your KA parts. But enough comparing the two kits to each other. Let's go back and continue working on the Forecastle now that it's dry. So here we are back with the Forecastle, and look at how nice that turned out. Looks beautiful. So now we're going to add the details to it. Having this case makes everything handy because it all looks good and all set up. I just got a container filled with some super glue, CA glue, Gorilla super glue, whatever you want to call it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start by putting on these winches. And then if you're doing this upgrade like I am, I don't know if it'll show. Oh, there they are. You can see there's an outline where each of the winches go. We're just going to put them into place. Alright, there goes those. Now there is also a ventilator and a rope housing that needs to go on. The ventilator is going to go into this square right here. With this piece, it might be easier just to dip it in glue. Dab it off a little bit. Put it into position. Then we're going to hold that in place. Make sure we get it squared up. Alright. And this other thing, like I said, it looks like a little house. In the kit, it looks like a little Monopoly house, but it's like a rope holder. It goes on this part. Bear in mind, if you're using the KA kit, there are two little pieces right there. Okay. And that's all in. Now next, we're going to be doing... There's a little house that goes here, and then there's 6, I guess, bollards, they're calling them. We're going to start with the little house. I'm not sure what this was to, but... Now I did a little modified version of this because I broke the piece from the KA kit. Again, I'll have that in the description below. I used some of the KA detail on that. But the house itself is 3D printed in resin, so you know it looks nice, it's sturdy, and it still maintains that level of detail. Now, when it comes to putting the bollards on, they're not all the... Oh, sorry. Now, when it comes to putting on the bollards, they're not... Hang on. Okay, so now when it comes to putting on these bollards, they're not all the same if you're using the KA kit. These back two are X06. So make sure you don't confuse the two, or you're gonna have a bad time. Just like before, we're gonna put the glue on the part. We're gonna put it on the deck. Adjust it that little bit. And we're gonna do that for on the other side, and then we're gonna do the 4, which in this kit are X05. All right, that's it with that. Now we're gonna get on to the fun part. So this next part has us putting in the breakwaters, which if you see on the KA kit, this is going to be very, very tricky to do. These are some very tiny parts with very tiny things you've got to get right because you're only going to get one shot at it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a thin line of glue onto the deck. No. We're going to put a line of glue on the piece here. So we got the glue on there. I'm going to follow the line here and attach it to the ship. I'll hold that in place for a second. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now, what are we going to do about those pieces there? Well, what I'm going to do, what I think the best way to do this is we're going to take a tiniest bit of glue, just touch the piece, and use the edge of a tweezer to bring it down and secure it to the deck. And we'll do that for all of them. you get all those in there. There's how they look. And then we got another ventilation duct. Which is a pretty decent sized piece, so I'm just gonna dip it. And it's gonna go right in the middle of this circle here. Actually, I'm gonna hold that in for a second. There's that in. Next, we are going to put in the cargo hatch. Plop that into place right here. Make sure it lines up with the breakwaters. And there we go. The cargo hatch is definitely in place. Looking very good. Next, we got the 4 capstans and 4 valves that go here. Since the valves are very small, I'm going to start off with the capstans because these are big. Just because they're big, we're going to dip them into the... We're going to dip them, and then we're going to put them into place. There's 4 of them to do. Okay, now we got the capstans on. We've got just a couple of small pieces to put in. These are not in the original kit, but they are nonetheless in this part. You can see right here 2 little laser etched holes. They're not really holes, but for lack of a better term, they get a couple of small pieces. The best way we're going to do these ones is we're going to put the glue right onto the deck. Then we're going to put these little tiny pieces in. Alright, now that we got those tiny details in, now we're going to put in our valves here. These are very, very small and fragile. Best way we're going to do this, I think, is we're going to dip them in. Put them in the place and hold them for a second. Now we're going to do that with the other 3. There you go. Those are all in place. Now, there is an anchor that I didn't put in yet. It's supposed to go here. I mean, I do have an anchor, but I will admit when I took it off the KA, screws originally, it did break. I did make a fix for it. It would go right there. But I got a replacement coming, so I'm going to wait for that to put it into place. And obviously you people have seen this anchor, which will eventually somehow fit up there. But until I get that replacement anchor, we're going to call that we're going to say that's it. There's the Forecastle. All done with the KA kit. That's all there is for this stage. Okay, so here we are with stage 2, and as you can tell, it's gonna be the hull section. Now, we are going to have a lot to do on this. Now, I'm taking out this section only because this is a section that we're going to have to do a lot of work on. First of all, it is metal, so it is a nice hefty piece. But one of the things that this model does that I don't like is that none of the windows in the fore section of the ship are going to be lit up. First of all, they only have windows even marked for C and D decks when there should be windows on both E and F deck as well. So what we're going to have to do if we want to get light to come out of these is we're going to have to drill all of these out, and we're going to have to drill in new windows for this section. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to start that now. Now when it comes to drilling these out, it may be your natural inclination to just grab a drill bit the size of the hole and just go drilling crazy. But that's not what we're going to do here. We're going to start by drilling a small pilot hole in each of these to start with a 1mm drill bit. For this, you may want to get a piece of wood under your part here. So now you want to center the drill bit and just slowly start drilling it out. It's going to take a little while to get through that. So I'm going to go ahead and drill these out, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so now we've got those drilled out. They will let light come through. I mean, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I mean, I'm sure you can see it that way, but if I do this, my phone, you can really see that we got some light coming through these portholes. Now, if you're satisfied with that, that's fine. You can go on to the next step, which is we're going to paint the black back up, because obviously drilling out through metal, you can see there's some spots. You might not be able to see it here, but there are some. We've stripped the paint in this, so we got to cover that up. But now let's talk E and F decks. There are supposed to be windows here. I mean, I'll put a picture up showing you there are supposed to be windows on those decks. But unlike C and D deck, there's not even a marking for where those windows should go. So we're going to have to actually create our own. And here's how we're going to do it. Okay, so here goes our template. All I did was I laid some strips of masking tape along the hull, and then use a pen or a pencil to just kind of trace out all these grooves, like all the shapes here. You're just going to use it, trace them all out. I did skip C deck because we really don't need these windows, because these and these are lined up pretty much where we want them. So we really just need D deck, and then we need, of course, E and F deck to see where our windows are going. Now I'm using this picture to kind of guide where my windows are going to go, and we can clearly see that at least on this section, we're only putting in 2 windows here. It looks like we're just putting in 2 that go 2 on each deck. So 2 here and 2 here, that line themselves up pretty much to these 2 windows here. So now what we're going to do is, knowing we're only going to do 2 windows, we want to make sure we got this square. So I'm actually going to take it off of this wood piece here. We're going to use our cutting mat because we need this to be level. So pick a line on your cutting mat and line your tape up. Now keep in mind, the deck itself is not level, but this will be what you want to do. So I'm going to line this up. And actually, use one of your lines here. Kind of get it straight. Yeah, I like that better. So we're going to use this to kind of get this straight here. We're going to tape this down. So now we got that with our windows clearly marked, and now we're going to just take our ruler, bring it down to the bottom lines here, and then we'll just mark off a line where that goes on E and F deck. We'll do another one right here. Now that's coming close to this one joint, so we're going to have to play around with that window. But, now why did I just draw a line and not a dot? Because we want these to be dead center, like they are. So to figure that out, we're going to first measure the spacing between the two decks. It looks like a 1 millimeter space. So then we're going to want to go half a millimeter, or it looks like a 1 centimeter space. So we're going to go half a centimeter. So right about there is our center points. Whoops, I did the wrong one there. So there's center point 1. Right. There's our center points on these ones. So these are going to be where we drill out these windows. And then here's this one. And now, like I said, because that's going to be close to a joint there. Actually, let's go back to the picture for a second. Okay, so according to the picture, it's actually going to line up with these ones. With 3 and 4 here. So let's go ahead and fix that. So I'm going to draw this one down here. And that's not going to work either because it's going to bump up against this one, you can clearly see. So we're going to go a little... So this one's going to be a little less perfect. But again, it's... You know, we're going for as historically accurate as we can while still sticking to what's going to work. So I'm going to draw this one here. And then we're going to do our half millimeter or half centimeter mark here. And that's what we're going to draw out. So we're going to draw these points here. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to take this. We're going to take our metal piece. We're going to bring it back over. We're going to line it up. And then we're going to drill out these holes the same way we just did. There we go. Now the easiest way to line it up is if you're drilling these out, put your tape up to the light and let the lights of these windows match up. Now we're going to get our wood piece back here. And now we're going to drill out windows on E and F deck. And we're just going to do it the same way we did before. Take it slow, steady. Remember, you're actually drilling these holes. You don't have something to start it with, so take your time. Make sure you get this centered, because you're only going to get one shot at this. And this is one of those things where going fast is not your friend. Take your time and go as slow as you can. Okay, and if we take the tape off for a second and push that aside, you can see we got a window there. And it looks really nice. So I'm going to go do the other 3 windows off camera, and then I'll come back and we'll continue on. And there you go. Now you got windows in E and F deck, and they look nice. Now this looks a little more complete. Now, whether you stopped here or whether you went to this point, the next step is the same. We gotta paint these, and I'm gonna talk to you now about the coloring. So when it comes to models of the Titanic, one of the problems people have is with the anti-fouling red color here. Some people go either way too red, or they go, like this did, a little too on the purple side. So before we put these two pieces together, which, you know, it's gonna do like this, we want to paint these pieces while they're separated, because then that just makes it easier to paint them. Obviously, for this, we're going to go with a flat black. And then on this piece, we're going to just go with a red. I'm using Cardinal Red and it's an acrylic paint. I'm going to airbrush it onto this. It's a flat paint, and then we're going to add some more details to this part, and then we're going to seal it with a clear coat. So I'm going to do that off camera, come back and show you the results. Okay, so now that we got those parts painted, you can see the colors are different and they're not as shiny because I did a nice matte finish on them. I did neglect to mention that we have a piece here you are going to need to drill holes out of if you want light to come through them. Otherwise, you're going to be blocking off the windows you just did. But we don't need that piece right now. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these two parts here. We're going to flip them over. And they're going to join right here. That with a pair of AM screws. The only screws that come in this part. That's in, and those are in nice and tight. I do put oil on them as always, so you do want to kind of make sure you do that. Now we're going to take this bracing piece here, just like this, and one of the windows I did cut out was I just cut this small section off of the sprue with the sprue cutters right here. This is just a bracing piece. It's going to go over there, and this is going to get held together with 4 AM screws here, here, here. Oh no, wait. Here, 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 and here. Okay, now those are in nice and tight. That is it for that stage. Obviously, you do note that you get the Titanic nameplate, which fell over. You do get the nameplate for Titanic. We don't use it on this stage, so you're going to want to put that off to the side, but we are going to be modifying this, so we may end up not using this piece anyway. But we'll look into that when we get to that point. Now let's go on to stage 3. Okay, so stage 3, you can see we got a lot of stuff to do, a lot of parts here, and this is all for the engines. So we're gonna get these all out of here, put them together. There is a tester board with a smoke generator. That will come into play later. We'll get to that when we do. Let's get this open and get the parts ready. Okay, so this is our first part here, and it's the right. If you look in there, you can see they're all labeled R, are 1, 2, 3, and 4. Likewise, you've got these pieces labeled too. So you're basically just going to match R3 will go to R3. There's a locating lug there. You're going to match it up to this to the lug in there. And you're going to do that all down the line. So the best way to go about this is get them all in order. This is how they're going to go in. And then as you get them all in, they're each going to be held together with a BM screw in each. Alright, and as always, when I'm going into metal, I not only use oil, I like to use a manual screwdriver to get them in a little more. So now we're going to set that to the side, and as you can guess, we're going to do the same thing for the left side. Now, before you mentioned in the comments, yes, I am missing one piece here. They had a little bit of an issue. I got a secondary piece from the right side that I didn't need, but I can go ahead and show this to you, and then just know that I will be fixing it later on. But just like on the right side, it's our directional. Kind of just fit them over the lugs here. Obviously, you match. You can see in that, I don't know if you can, but there you go. You match that L1 to L1, L2, L3, and so on. And then once we get those matched up and in place, each one's going to get held down with a BM screw. Alright, so once you got once you have your 4 tops on, again, I'm not putting I don't have 4 to put on, so I will be waiting on that. You're gonna make sure these are nice and tight, and then we're gonna put this aside and move on to the next part of the stage. So next we got these connecting rods and piston rods. And what you're gonna do with each of these is they basically got you having it with each of these with these cup ends up, and you're basically going to take each one and clip these together like so. And you can do this for all 4 of them. Alright, and you got all 4 of them like that. Keep in mind, you do not want to glue these. You want these to still be able to kind of freely when you got those done, that's what they should look like. Keep in mind, you do not want to glue these. You do want these to freely move because these are going to help turn your engines. Now the next piece they want you to get is this bad boy here, your piston, and you want to make sure you get this in the right direction. So in the instructions, they show it going in a this way direction. No, I'm wrong. Show it going like this. So it should be just like this. This is how they want it set up. And then all you're going to do is clip these like this to several different pistons. So you got one there. And there. So you're going to clip it to those ones. That's how they want you to do it. And then they want you, and then they want us to grab our left side engine piece, bring this over to it, and we're going to feed these into here. And there's little, I'm not sure if you can see it on this, but there are little grooves they want you to feed this into, and you got to keep it the direction they want. Alright, this part's highly fiddly, especially since I'm missing one of the coverings. Now, I grab our right one, our right side, and we're going to bring them together. Just kind of clip in together right here and here mainly. There you go. I mean, obviously this one's not going to stay in because of my missing part, but when you got it in there, it should kind of just clip into place. And you're not going to put any screws in it to hold it into place, but so it's just going to kind of clip in. You might choose to glue it down, but you don't have to. So now that that's clipped into place, we're going to be working on the bottom of this thing. So keeping it in this direction, we've got a couple of brackets. Now it is important to note that one is shorter than the other one. These are important. These are going to help us to keep this this piece from jiggling around so much. So the bigger one is going to go on this end point here. One's going to go into this end here. And then we got two top portions. Again, one is bigger than the other. The bigger one's gonna go like this onto this end. The smaller one's gonna go this way up on this end. Those are all going to get held together with 4 cm screws. Alright, so you got your engines all sealed up and together. Now the next step is we've got a gear, little cog here. They want us to put onto the end, right here. We're going to do a dry fit first. It is directional because there is a D-shaped hole in there. I don't know if you'll see that on camera, but it is a D-shaped hole, so it can only go in that way. So they want you to put some glue on the end so it'll stick on. Coat the end in some super glue. This piece on it. Hold it in place for a minute. And once that's all set, you should end up with it doing this. See, the engine's turning. I mean, obviously I took out a piece because obviously, again, I'm missing this section here, but you get the idea. The engines are engineing. Now, there is one more optional step for this stage, so I'll just show it to you real quick here, and we'll move on to stage 4. So for this part, they want you to test the smoke generator. So we got a tester board and we got our smoke generator. You need 2 AAA batteries to do this. So we'll put our batteries into our tester board. And we're going to plug this into this smaller port here, marked in. Now it's plugged in. You need a wet cloth or napkin or something. Just something wet. I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but if we set this on here and press the button here, it should smoke. It's this way, definitely. There. I don't know if you can see that coming out. I'll try to... There you go. You can see that using my hand, but yeah, you definitely got some smoke coming out of there. So with that done, that is it for stage 3. Let's move on to stage 4. Okay, so stage 4 starts off kind of like the same way as stage 2. We did some more drilling of some holes into this section, painted both sections up. One thing I do want to point out, you will need your big piece here. And one thing I did not mention before, well, I did mention it. You got to drill the holes out of the support here. You're going to have another support to drill the holes out of. So make sure you do that before you paint any of the parts, because believe me, it's a lot easier to paint these parts separate. Now in stage 1, I didn't lay anything down, but since these are metal pieces, you probably want to lay them on something. I'm just using a piece of styrofoam here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this red piece here, and we're going to put it into position. It can only go in one way. And then we're going to secure it to these with the supports here with a pair of AM screws. Now you can see we've got that part on. Now, yeah, there is going to be a bit of a seam line. I am going to try to find a way to combat that, but you know, supposedly the more you bring it together, the more pieces you get together, the less that line's going to show. So we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. I've got some ideas if it doesn't happen though. So now we're going to put this piece on here. Flip it over, and once again, we're going to secure it here and here with a pair of AM screws. Now we got that part in, so our hull's kind of coming along, getting longer. Now our next step, we're going to flip this over again, and now we've got another support bracket. We're going to put this bracket here, like this. You see I've already drilled some holes in it, but it's going to be secured here, 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 and here, as usual with AM screws. Alright, that support's now in place. Now you would think that's the end of this, but obviously we've got one last thing to do. For this, it's just mostly a symbolic gesture, because we are going to be changing up this thing, but I just feel like it's, you know, it's important to show it go on anyway. I'm going to put the Titanic nameplate into its position. It is supposed to just be a push to fit. Now, for right now, it's got a name on it, but I am going to be changing up that nameplate because I just don't like how it looks. I'm going to be using a decal, and I'm going to be making this thing look more seamless. But I'll go over how to do that when I actually do it. But that is it for that stage, and that is it for this pack. So that is it for this first shipment of the model, and what a lot of work we've done on it. I'm sure you like the modifications I've done, and I think you'll agree it'll make this ship look so much closer to the actual ship. We did the first part of the Forecastle deck. We've started assembling the outer hull, and we've started working on the engines. If you want this for yourself, the link to the website's down below to get it for yourself. You can follow along with me. Agora usually has a catch-up option, so if you're watching this video a few months from now and you want to get started on this, you can always get several kits to catch yourself up to where we are. Next time we're going to discuss some things about the size of this model, and we're going to take a look at the total cost of this so you know what you're getting yourself into. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time on the Model Frontier.